Night settles over the island like a shroud, heavy and breathless. Along the cliffs, the caves inhale the salt, wet Pacific wind and exhale the stale scent of mold, sweat, and old volcanic stone. Inside one of them, more than 100 Japanese civilians sit pressed together, knees and shoulders touching. The air so thick it feels like something they must chew before they breathe. A single candle, thumb-sized, half-melted, flickers weakly in the center. Its flame draws trembling halos over gaunt faces, over eyes that no longer hold sleep, over the dust-streaked cheeks of children who no longer cry because they have learned that sound is dangerous. Outside, distant artillery murmurs across the hills, a low, patient thunder. Each rumble vibrates through the cave floor. Each rumble reminds them that the world outside is ending. A baby fusses near the entrance. Instant silence swallows the cavern. Even breath is held captive. "America Jingakuru," an old man whispers. "The Americans are coming." His voice shakes with a mixture of dread and resignation, as though speaking the words might summon them faster. Hana, her kimono faded to a color no name fits, tightens her grip around her 7-year-old daughter, Emmy. The girl's hair smells of smoke and dust. Her small hands are cold. Hana leans close to her ear and whispers, "Keep your eyes down. Don't make a sound." Emmy does not respond. She only stares at the candle, soft, fluttering, fragile, as though memorizing the light in case she never sees it again. Because they all know the stories. Americans torture. Americans tear children from their mothers. Americans do things too terrible to repeat. This is what they have been taught. This is what they believe. Then footsteps. Outside, slow, heavy, boots grinding over crushed coral. 2 voices murmur in English. Calm, ordinary. A rifle strap clicks softly. The noise rolls into the cave like a pulse of ice. A boy in the corner bites his lip until blood fills his mouth. His shaking hands cling to his mother's sleeve. The candle flickers, sputters, dees. Darkness slams shut like a door, and every heart in the cave freezes mid-beat. Hours before the candle died, before boots echoed across the coral stones, the civilians had begun their last desperate journey into the caves. It was not a march. It was a slow collapse across the shattered landscape, families stumbling through smoke, stepping over broken beams, dragging what little remained of their world. Hana remembered the heat first. Not sunlight, flames, houses burning behind them. The air thick with drifting ash that tasted like charred rice and bitter grief. Somewhere in the chaos, she heard her husband calling her name. Once, twice, then the wind carried his voice away, swallowed by explosions. She kept running because stopping meant becoming part of the fire. They were told to flee inland, told to hide, told to vanish. Propaganda had already etched itself into their bones. Americans take no prisoners. Americans destroy everything. Americans are monsters wrapped in human skin. Ichiro Takeda, a mild-mannered clerk who had once spent his days sharpening pencils in an office, now carried a broken rifle he did not know how to use. In his coat pocket, a crumpled diary page scratched with trembling handwriting read, "If captured, death is preferable. This is our duty. This is our honor." But honor feels different when your stomach is empty. The caves offered shelter from bullets, but not from hunger. Children's bellies swelled painfully. Grandmothers fainted from dehydration. The air grew so stale that even breathing felt like betrayal. Still, they kept going deeper, because deeper meant safety. Deeper meant darkness. Deeper meant the Americans might never find them. A man with a shattered arm whispered, "They will burn us alive if they catch us." No one contradicted him. Lies repeated enough times become truth, especially when fear feeds them. When they finally reached the cavern, they would soon share with 100 others. They believed they had escaped the worst. They were wrong. Because the true terror was not death. It was the moment they would learn that everything they believed about the Americans was about to shatter, and the footsteps coming toward the cave entrance were bringing that moment with them. The footsteps stop at the mouth of the cave. A hush spreads through the darkness like ink. No one moves. No one even breathes. The air feels thick enough to choke on. A beam of light slices into the cave. Not fire, not an explosion. A flashlight. It sweeps slowly across the cavern floor, glinting off stones, catching the whites of terrified eyes. A marine voice follows, steady, calm, almost gentle. "Anyone in there? We're not here to hurt you." The civilians shrink back as if the words themselves carry fire. Emmy buries her face in Hana's kimono, small fingers digging into the cloth. Hana's pulse hammers wildly. She has heard Americans cannot speak without shouting. Yet these voices feel strangely soft, too soft. and that softness somehow feels more dangerous. Another Marine calls out, "We have water, food, come out, little by little." Water, food, forbidden words, impossible words. A grandmother in the back of the cave trembles violently at the sound of them. Her lips form a silent prayer. For days her tongue has been dry, her thoughts blurry, her heartbeat slow and uncertain. The flashlight beam moves again, slow, searching, patient. The Marines do not rush. They do not bark orders. They do not fire. The silence they offer is unfamiliar, unsettling. Ichiro Takeda, clutching his useless broken rifle, whispers, "Why do they not attack?" His voice cracks. Fear and confusion tear at each syllable. A Marine steps 1 foot into the cave. His boots crunch lightly against the volcanic grit. Hana flinches. The man pauses, lowers his rifle, and sets it gently on the ground. He raises both hands in the air, palms open, empty. A gesture of peace. A gesture no one in this cave has ever been told Americans could make. Then he speaks again, slower this time, as if speaking to frightened children. "It's safe. You don't have to hide. Safe." The word lands like an earthquake. Quiet, powerful, unbelievable. For the first time, doubt slithers through the fear clouding their minds. Could the enemy be here to rescue them? No one moves. But the first cracks in their belief have begun to form. The first steps into the light. For a long, trembling moment, no one dares move. The Marines wait, motionless silhouettes against the white glare of the outside sky. Dust swirls around them in slow spirals, drifting like ghosts through the cave entrance. Then, somewhere in the darkness, a thin voice breaks. "Water, please." It is barely a whisper, a thread of sound, but it carries through the cave like a crack of thunder. A child, no more than 5, sits slumped against her mother's shoulder. Her lips pale, her eyes half closed. The word escapes her before the mother can clamp a hand over her mouth. Every civilian freezes. Hana's heartbeat stumbles. Ichiro's fingers tighten painfully around his shattered rifle. The Marines look at one another, then back into the cave. The one with the lowered weapon kneels and slowly reaches into his pack. What he pulls out glints faintly in the dimness. A canteen, metal, dented, ordinary. He unscrews the cap. The soft glug of water echoes like music. He doesn't drink it. He doesn't toss it. He sets it down on the ground and nudges it gently forward. A gesture of offering. The civilians stare at it as though it might explode. For Hana, the sound of water sloshing is almost painful. Her throat aches so fiercely she has to bite her tongue to steady herself. Emmy looks up at her, eyes wide, whispering, "Mama." "I'm thirsty." A man near the front crawls forward on shaking knees. His movements are jerky, hesitant, as if each inch closer might cost him his life. He stops a full arm's length from the canteen, bows his head deeply, and mutters, "Forgive me. Forgive me." Before reaching out, his fingers touch metal. No shots ring out. No boots lunge forward. No knives flash. Only silence. He brings the canteen to his lips and drinks. The water drips down his chin, darkening the dust on his face. His shoulders begin to shake, not from fear, but from something deeper, something breaking inside him. He looks back into the cave, voice trembling. They are giving us life. And at that moment, something impossible begins. Hope, tiny and fragile, stirs inside the darkness. Emerging from the cave, the canteen passes from hand to trembling hand, each sip small, reverent, as if they fear the water might vanish if taken too greedily. Hana lets Emmy drink first. The child's throat bobs rapidly, desperate, and Hana feels guilt stab her. Guilt for letting her daughter suffer. Guilt for believing every terrible story they were told. But fear is still stronger than hope. They do not know what comes next. The Marines remain where they are, silent, patient, as though aware that one wrong movement could send the civilians fleeing deeper into the darkness. Dust clings to their uniforms. Their faces are gaunt with exhaustion, sunburned, smeared with soot. Yet they stand like guardians, not conquerors. Finally, the kneeling Marine speaks again. "We'll take you somewhere safe. Food, water, medical help." Safe, food, medical. Words from another universe. A woman near Hana begins to sob silently into her sleeves. A teenager presses his forehead to the cave floor, whispering apologies to ancestors he thinks he has betrayed by surviving. The Marine extends a hand, not forward, but downward, inviting. It is Emmy who moves first. She slips from Hana's arms before her mother can grab her. Her small feet pad softly across the stones, her shadow stretched thin by the flashlight beam. For a breathless instant, she hesitates, halfway between terror and courage. Then she steps into the light. The Marines don't reach for her. They simply let her come. One of them crouches to her height and offers a small paper-wrapped object. Emmy takes it with both hands. She sniffs. The smell is sweet, familiar, unbelievable. Candy! Her eyes widen. She turns back toward the cave, voice tiny but clear. Mama, it's good. Something breaks inside Hannah, fear rigid and cold cracking down the middle. She rises shakily to her feet. Her legs tremble as she moves toward the entrance. Each step heavier than the last, each breath sharp with disbelief. When she finally emerges into daylight, she raises an arm to shield her eyes. But even through the glare, one truth becomes unmistakable. The Americans are not monsters, and the world she thought she understood has begun to crumble. The first real meal. The sunlight feels unreal, too bright, too clean, too warm for people who have been living inside the earth. Hannah blinks rapidly, her eyes watering as tears and light mix into one blurred shimmer. Around her, dozens of civilians emerge slowly, like ghosts climbing out of their own graves. Some shield their faces, some fall to their knees, some simply stare at the Marines as if expecting the kindness to suddenly end. A Marine waves them gently forward. This way. Take your time, no rush. No rush, no shouting, no grabbing. It confuses them more than violence would have, as they are guided toward a clearing beyond the rocks. A strange scent drifts through the air, rich, warm, foreign. Emmy sniffs repeatedly and tugs Hannah's sleeve. Mama, what is that smell? Hannah doesn't know. Not yet. Then she sees them. Metal pots arranged over small burners. Steam rising from them in soft clouds. Marines ladle thick soup into tin cups. Beside them, crates lie open. Bread. Cans of fruit. Something the Americans call rations. There is no deception here. No trap. Just food. The first bowl is handed to an elderly woman whose legs buckle as she tries to stand. A Marine supports her carefully, guiding her to a seat. She stares down at the soup, yellow, creamy, fragrant. Her hands tremble so violently the liquid ripples. She whispers, I can't take this. I am the enemy. The Marine gently closes her fingers around the cup. Ma'am, you're just hungry, she cries silently as she lifts it to her lips. Nearby, Ichiro Takeda receives a small loaf of bread. The surface is soft, warm, almost glowing in the afternoon sun. He breaks a piece off, brings it to his mouth, chews slowly. His eyes widen. He stares at the bread like it has betrayed him. All these years, he murmurs, voice cracking. They said Americans only feed prisoners to make them suffer longer. But this, tears spill onto his dust-covered shirt. This is kindness. Hannah watches Emmy sip soup from a tin cup, her small face softening into a relieved smile. And in that moment, Hannah feels the impossible settling into her chest. She is alive. Her daughter is fed. And the enemy is saving them.